Carlos Correa is headed to the Bay. Twins ownership would not pay up. Where do we go from here? Let's go. Well, Cole, 2035 sounds like a really long time from now. Sounds very far away.
Yeah.
I will be old and gray. Carlos Correa will kind of be old and gray by then too. To put it in perspective, when Carlos Correa is a free agent again, Tom Brady will be 58 years old.
Oh my!
Which actually doesn't seem that much older than he is right
I
now.
know, but that's like almost 60. You can almost
Taylor
open up the Perkins
Swift
senior menu.
Will be 46. Justin Bieber, 41. Donald Trump will be almost 90, which, again, that doesn't seem that old.
Right. He's already old, so.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Once you hit like 60 or whatever age,
the Taylor
it's just a
Swift
number.
one is crazy.
Yeah, I just want to point out that you researched that fact, not me. I had no idea how old Taylor Swift was, or Justin Bieber. But yeah, so Correa's gone. He officially is not going to be a Twin next year, and he is going to the Bay Area. He signed a 13-year, $350 million contract with them, which is huge. It's less than what the Twins offered him. Would you have been happy if he signed with the Twins? They were offering him $285 million for 10 years. I mean, would you have been happy with that?
I think, I would have been happy with 285 for 10 years. 13 years, $350 million is a lot of money. But at the same time, it's so far away. Like we were just saying that what really is $27 million a year going to look like in 13 years from now? You know, everybody says, oh my gosh, when he's at 40 years old, he'll be making $27 million a year. Well, 13 years ago, guys were not making $27 million a year also. So I think that the luxury tax is going to change by then. I think that's what a lot of these teams are really banking on, is that cap's going to go up. It's not really a cap, but, you know, the Steve Cohen tax, per se, is going to go up. So they're just like, we'll sign him now. We'll deal with it later if he's not good. We'll figure out how to pay him out. We'll do whatever we got to do. But they're doing these insanely long contracts. Him, Correa, 13 years. Bogarts, 11 years. Trey Turner, 11 years. So long. We haven't seen some of these type of contracts in a long time. And
I noticed that this year too. I was like, I'm seeing all these contracts and they seem really, really long.
It's crazy. And really, I think it comes down to the market is hot for them. There's a lot of extra money out there. All the ownership just had a big TV deal where they all got, I don't know, $10 million each or 100, they all got this extra money. So they all this extra money to spend, and you give a guy 13 years, he's a lot more willing to sign for less money, and you can just deal with the, I don't know, inflation later down the road, and just pay up now. But it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, like, I mean, oh, sorry, did I cut you off? What were you saying?
Well, I was just going to say it's pretty crazy that, the Twins didn't go to 13 years, to be honest. They got a lot of money to spend. We have a lot of a fan base that was behind Carlos Correa, and I would think that, the ownership should have stepped up and paid. I think there's going to be a lot of Twins fans out there saying the same thing. But on the flip side, you do sign him for 13 years, $350 million, and until I'm in my 40s, I'm going to hear every half Twins fan saying, oh, how's that guy we pay a ton of money doing? And if he's not winning World Series, no one cares.
Yeah. Well, you would think that the Twins would have had the opportunity to match the contract, right?
I would think so. And I mean, how could, after what fell in our lap last year with Correa, I am sure that Scott Boras, when he heard that he was going to get 13 years, $350 million from the Giants, I would assume he picked up the phone and called the Twins ownership and front office and said, hey, you match this or come above that, he's yours. And I think that the Twins said, like you said, their final offer was $285 million, 10 years, and they said, that's it. And then he went to the Giants.
Which according to Dan Hayes of The Athletic, $285 million for 10 years. Actually, he would have been getting paid more yearly if he stayed with the Twins. Why do you think he went with the longer contract?
It's more money. It's an extra, what,
That was a really dumb question.
That's $65 million more.
I don't know why I asked that.
I guess, but...
Yeah. I mean, it is more money, yeah. He would have gotten paid more yearly, but yes, overall.
Well, and actually, he was offered a contract from the Astros prior to signing with the Twins last year, and I think that contract was for around 200 million or so for a long-term contract, and he turned that down. Did the experiment with us, came to us. He made $35 million here last year. Now he made another $350 million guaranteed money. There's no opt-out. There's no trade clause. He's guaranteed $350 million. And so he basically doubled his money by turning down the Astros offer. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, it is a lot of money, but all right. So now the Twins kind of have a hole there at shortstop. What do you think the plan is for the Twins shortstop this year?
Well, as of right now, I mean, there's still Dansby Swanson out there. He's still available. Possible we sign him. I think the only other teams really looking at him would be the Chicago Cubs could use him. That's where I thought Correa would go originally, but I think Dansby still could definitely be a Cub, and I think Dansby Swanson could possibly go to the Red Sox because their ownership is taking a lot of, and their front office really more than anything is taking a lot of flack for letting Xander Bogaerts go. So
Yeah.
they may need to make a move to replace him and try to at least gamble on maybe Dansby Swanson's better than he was, and you never know. I don't think he is.
Probably not, but
Right, but you never know. At least you're showing the fan base you're trying to do something, and I think that's what the Twins maybe need to do. It would be nice to see them go get Dansby Swanson, and I don't think you got to sign him to a 10-year deal. I think you can go get him for less. Hopefully now that he's like one of the last ones out there too, and there's not as many teams looking for a shortstop, you could get him to 4 to 6 years, and that gives enough time for that separation between Royce Lewis coming in and playing multiple positions and maybe eventually taking over that shortstop role. And we also have Brooks Lee that we drafted last year, and another top shortstop prospect. So we have guys coming in the pipeline. I'm sure they're happy today seeing Correa not signing with us for 13 years. I can't imagine, but Scott Boras is also Royce Lewis's agent as well. So I'm sure we're going to face this exact same situation as soon as he's a free agent. I would think the Twins are anticipating that, and that's probably why that they might have drafted Brooks Lee to kind of fill the role of Royce Lewis, but that's way down the road. I think right now, this year, we obviously have Kyle Farmer that we went and got. He's probably going to be, as of right now, he's our starting shortstop on opening day. So it's clearly not ideal, but Twins have a lot of money to spend yet.
yeah. Well, yeah. So other teams have been making moves, like the Mets have been making moves, the Padres, obviously, now the Giants. We got Christian Vasquez. What do you think about that?
I mean, it was obviously a top of our priority list. We got him even before the Correa thing landed or anything, and we needed a backup catcher. We needed actually not even a backup catcher, but somebody really to pair with Ryan Jeffers. Jeffers struggles a little bit against righties. Christian Vasquez is better against right-handed hitters, so I'm sure they'll platoon there. But just bringing a veteran guy who's been there, done that, World Series champion now this year, it's good to have on the team, and that maybe replaces a little bit of the intangible of having a World Series champ like Correa on the team to now you got Vasquez. So I think it's good to see. I'm excited about it. 3 years, $30 million, I think it was. So he's not a long time here, but he'll be here long enough to bring up some of these young pitchers we got coming up the pipe.
Yeah. Well, okay. Speaking of pitchers, pitchers have been falling off the board now. We haven't signed any yet. So what do we have? I mean, do we have a need for starting pitching? I don't know. I think some people might say we don't. We think we do. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of gone back and forth on it a lot. I think we have the need to spend money, and if there's anywhere to spend money on, clearly pitching is a huge thing to win championships. If you look at even the Astros, right? The Astros had Carlos Correa. They didn't sign Carlos Correa, and why was that? Because they knew they had Pena coming in to fill his spot. So now they won the World Series with Pena, paid him less than $1 million, and maybe that's what we're trying to do with like Royce Lewis and Brooks Lee. I mean, we've seen like offenses can really come together in a lot of different ways, but pitching, you have to have pitching. You cannot go and win with a mediocre pitching staff the whole way. Um,
That goes for fantasy baseball too.
it does. That it does. I agree. I mean, you can find hitting. It's just the way it is. Like, even look at the Angels, right? The last few years, they have Mike Trout. Imagine any other team having Mike Trout with the pitching staff, not the pitching staff of the Angels, I should say. So I think that's what the Twins need to take and run with is, they were willing to give Carlos Correa this year another $28 million. So, hey, how about take that money plus all the other guys we lost? We have over $50 million yet to spend just to match what our payroll was from last year. And all the other teams out there are going beyond what their payroll was for last year because they have even more money to spend. So the ownership really needs to step up. The front office needs to step up, and they need to spend that money. And really the main ace that's out there is Carlos Rendon. Somebody's going to get him. There's a lot of talk around the Yankees. Maybe the Twins get him, but that's really the only other number one starter. And anybody else you go out there and get, in my opinion, at this point, because we missed out on DeGrom and Verlander and Kershaw and all of these guys, I don't think it's worth adding any of the other starting pitchers really right now that are out there because they're not going to go and jump that list ahead of Joe Ryan, ahead of Sonny Gray. They're not going to move ahead of Kenta Maeda. You'll be adding a fourth starter, and we need a number one guy.
We need that ace.
We do. You need as many aces as you can.
Yeah, more than one would be great. Okay, so with the lack of off season, free agent signing, is it safe to say that probably the Twins are working on some deals behind the scenes for maybe some big trades?
I mean, they have to be. You can't be walking away without a single pitcher. They haven't added anything to the pitching staff or really the bullpen this offseason, so they have got to go out and make some moves. And there's been you've heard the speculation. There's a lot of talk we've talked about on the podcast about Luis Arraez, the last year's American League batting champion, even being traded. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens at this point, especially now that we've missed out on Correa. I think the Twins are going to for sure trade Max Kepler, and if they don't, then maybe, I don't know, fans aren't going to be very happy about seeing him out there because we've got kind of a backlog of lefty outfielders, and we don't really need Max Kepler, and he costs us like $8.5 million this year. And there are teams that do need him. There are teams like Toronto. They need another lefty bat out there. I know they signed Kevin Kiermaier to the center field, but they could use another lefty bat in their outfield as well, and Max Kepler might fill that role, but it might kind of depend on where Brian Reynolds of the Pirates ends up getting traded to. He's been talked about in trade opportunities, and I think any team would rather take Brian Reynolds over Max Kepler, and that's understandable. But yeah, I think we're going to trade for a number one pitcher some way, somehow, and hopefully the Twins fans can be accepting of who we get and who we give up. That's going to be the hardest thing. They're going to have to look like they won the trade in the eyes of the Twins fans. It's going to be really hard to move forward with no Correa, hardly any free agent signing. At this point, basically nothing besides getting our catcher and a little bit extra pieces, but they've got to do something. It's got to happen.
Yeah. All right. I mean, it is weird. Yeah. I mean, I wish we knew what was going on behind the scenes because I would love to know who they're planning on trading for. What is it? What do we need like this year? What could we do to win the World Series? Like, who do we need? What pieces do we need to like fill in?
Yeah. I mean, I think it really comes down to that number one starter. I think Joe Ryan is amazing. I think to me, he is our number one starter right now, but he's still young. He needs another veteran presence ahead of him. I think if we would have added a DeGrom or a Verlander or a type like that we would have needed, and we need another power bat. I wouldn't be surprised to see us go get JD Martinez out there to DH, maybe play a little first, maybe bounce around, and especially if you trade Luis Arraez, you're going to need a first baseman. And there's a few out there. Maybe even Justin Turner is an option to play some first base and go sign him. But we have got to find some power. Our team, especially to build around Buxton. I think that's what made Buxton last year, when he's healthy, he was one of the best players, if not the best player in Major League Baseball. And I think a lot of credit goes to Correa last year in that, because you put Correa in that lineup around Byron Buxton, it just opens the opportunities up for him. It makes it so that pitchers can have to go after Buxton because otherwise they're going to face Correa or vice versa. So, you're going to have to add some support to the lineup so that you have a team that can actually have more than just one or two guys that are trying to carry the team.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Buxton stays healthy. Yeah, there you have it.
We can only hope.
I know, right?
We can only hope that Buxton stays healthy, that Emilio Pagan doesn't give up a home run every other inning. We can hope that the Twins ownership is willing to open up their pockets and spend a little money. That's how we win a World Series, right there. The 1, 2, 3.
Well, I'm not even going to ask you this because I know what you're going to say. Yes, there is hope for the team this year.
Of course, yeah. But again, there's hope, but we're still a Minnesota sports team, and there's always that skepticism. There's always the, man, I wish they would spend more. Man, I wish our prospects would be better right now. Everything like that. But I don't know. Losing Correa, let's not lie, it hurts. As much as it's a lot of money, and we say, oh, I don't know if I'd want that much money. It hurts. You want the ownership to spend money. Look at the Dodgers, look at the Padres, look at the Mets. You'd put your money on them to win the World Series next year over the Twins, obviously. And that's because their ownership isn't afraid to spend.
Yeah, well,
Actually,
hopefully letting Correa go doesn't turn out to be a bad thing.
Right. And we're so far below the luxury tax. It's not like, I don't know if you know this about the Mets. Steve Cohen, he's the owner of the Mets. Every dollar, like even they just signed Kodai Senga, who I also was hoping the Twins would get.
I thought it was like 75 million, 5 years or something.
Yeah. I think he has an opt-out too, so that helps him. If he does come on the scene and is really good, that'll help him be able to get more money eventually. But every dollar of that 75 million, Cohen has to pay an extra 90 cents. So right now, if he goes out and signs, let's say he signs you for $10 million, he pays you $10 million, and then he pays the league another $9 million, and that gets diversified amongst all the owners. So every dollar that the Mets spend from here forward, as well as the last contract, I believe all of it, just is extra money, literally 90 cents on every dollar. And the Twins aren't even doing that. So right now, the Twins could sign anybody for 90 cents on the dollar less than the Mets could. And yet people are still thinking the Mets are going to sign Rendon. It's crazy. Or the Yankees. All these teams above the luxury tax.
Well, it's New York, man. Well, all right. That's there you have it. Carlos is gone. Correa is a Giant now for the foreseeable future. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow us at Hot Dish Sports. And bye-bye, Carlos. And go Twins.